Hundreds of years elapse. In Egypt, Moses, who has been brought up by the daughter of Pharaoh, emerges as a leader of his people. The children of Israel are no longer free. They are oppressed by the Pharaonic regime and compelled to build huge treasure cities for the Egyptians. It takes a spiritual master, one who introduces monotheism into the world, to deliver them from bondage. He now leads the Israelites into the Sinai desert, there to wander for 40 years until they become a nation of free men. Here on Mount Sinai, with 600,000 living men and women as witnesses, the 10 Commandments are given. I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Honor thy father and thy mother.
For the Lord thy God bringeth thee into a good land, a land of brooks of water, of fountains and depths that spring out of valleys and hills, a land of wheat and barley and vines, and fig trees and pomegranates, a land of oil, olives, and honey. And Moses went up from the plains of Moab into the mountain of Nebo. And the Lord said unto him, This is the land which I swore unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob. I have caused thee to see it with thine eyes, but thou shalt not go thither. And so it was that Moses died, having never set foot in the promised land, and is buried in Moab in Transjordan. But no man knows where, even to this day.
The route of the Israelites into the Promised Land leads them to the Jordan River, a major obstacle that has to be crossed. Moses is dead, but as the priests bearing the Ark of the Covenant step into the Jordan, the water dries up and the Israelites pass on dry land. It is a token that the Lord God is with his people and with their new leader, Joshua. Having crossed the river, the children of Israel camp in Gilgal on the plains of Jericho to spend the Passover. From Gilgal, they proceed to Jericho, since excavated. For 6 days, the priests encompass the city while carrying the Ark of the Covenant. On the 7th day, the horns are sounded, and the walls of the city fall down flat. The Canaanite kings join forces against the powerful intruder, and the battle rages throughout the day, from the city of Gibeon to the valley of Ayalon. Nowadays, the large monastery of the Trappist Fathers, who produce excellent wine, commands the view where thousands of years ago, Joshua issued the command. Sun, stand thou still upon Gibeon, and thou moon in the valley of Ayalon.
Taking over the Promised Land was a long and arduous process. These are the mountains of Ephraim at the valley of Jezreel, where Deborah, a prophetess and a seer, judged the children of Israel. At the footsteps of another mountain, Mount Tabor, the sophisticated army of the Canaanites is defeated by Barak, whom Deborah counsels and guides throughout the battle.
Herod's Spring, a favorite natural site in modern Israel. Here, Gideon selected 300 chosen warriors to fight the Midianites. They were selected by noting the manner in which they drank from its water. The scene shifts to Ashkelon on the seashore, one of the 5 major Philistine cities. The Philistines are a formidable enemy. A legendary hero appears, Samson, a man of immense strength, dedicated to God from the womb. Samson spreads terror and havoc among the Philistines, only to succumb later to the guiles of Delilah, a Philistine courtesan to whom he reveals the secret of his power. He is taken captive and his eyes are gouged out. But in this wondrous tale of physical and spiritual power, he is redeemed by faith. Held prisoner in the Philistine temple, he shatters the two main pillars and the entire roof caves in on the crowd. So the dead which he slew at his death were more than those whom he had slain in his life. This is the valley of Elah. Here at the foothills of the Judean mountains, an Israelite army led by King Saul faces the Philistines again. These giant antennas, Israel's means of communication with the world, are set where a terrifying giant by the name of Goliath challenges the Israelite force. The challenge is met by young David, an unknown youth. Judging him by appearance, Goliath mocks the young boy who dares to face him. And David put his hand in his bag and took out a stone and slung it and smote the Philistine in the forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. David, elevated from the position of the youngest brother who tends his father's sheep in the peaceful valley of Judea, is chosen by God to become a king. War threatens once again, this time on the slopes of Mount Gilboa by the valley of Jezreel. King Saul and his sons are killed in battle. The house of Saul is succeeded by the house of David, which is to rule for hundreds of years.
One of David's first actions as king is the conquest of Jerusalem, the city of the Jebusites. So David dwelt in the fort and called it the City of David. With the establishment of his new capital, David brings the Ark of the Covenant, which has been kept in Judea, into the city, and his son, King Solomon, builds a house for the Lord's name, the first temple, which is to stand for 1,000 years. Since then, Jerusalem has become the ultimate symbol of glory and kingly power for every Jew in the world, a city where the deeds of the past merge with the last days of the future, when nations shall beat their swords into plowshares, and they shall learn war no more.
For 3,000 years since David first entered its citadel to establish his kingdom, and unto this day, it has remained and will remain Jerusalem of gold. The sacrosanct character of Jerusalem is so deep that when King David, beloved of God, wishes to build a house for the Lord, his wish is denied because he is a warrior who has shed blood. David dies and is buried here on Mount Zion. According to the Jewish faith, when the Messiah comes, he will be of the house of David, and it is the Messiah, son of David, for whom the Jews pray at the king's tomb.
In the Kidron Valley, not far from David's tomb, is Absalom's pillar, built as an everlasting monument to David's son who died in revolt against his father. David's most bitter of victories.